All right, thank you all for coming here today. We appreciate it very much. Thank you for the support. I'll introduce everybody up here. First of all, lightweight champion of the UFC, Frankie Edgar, coming off one of the most amazing fights I've ever seen in my life. Scott O'Neil, president of Madison Square Garden, and my partner Lorenzo Fertitta. We're here today to talk about our commitment to New York. Not just the city, but the state of New York. Not only will we be doing fights here, obviously big pay-per-view events at Madison Square Garden, we're also talking about doing fights in Albany, Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse. This thing has become so big, we're an international company now. It's the fastest growing sport in the world, and we've done events Australia, Europe, England, you name it, we've been there, and we're opening up Japan, China, and India in the next 2 years. So right now, the UFC is available in 500 million homes worldwide.
Can I ask about the politics of this? Because why you're not in New York is because the New York State Legislature, particularly the State Assembly, has refused or resisted passing legislation to do so. Can you comment on that? Are you baffled by that or frustrated by that, given the sanctions that your sport has in other states?
Yeah, you know, to be honest with you, I'm not frustrated. I'm a little baffled, but not frustrated. You know, obviously, it's an education process, and you know, I feel like we've got a good team here in New York, and I feel that we're going to get this thing done. I think that anybody that would call this brutal or barbaric hasn't done their homework on the sport. Obviously, like I said, this thing's been around for almost 20 years, 10 years since we've owned it. There's never been a death or serious injury in the history of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. First of all, we go through all the same regulatory things that boxing does, as far as medicals. You know, every time we put on an event, 2 healthy athletes go in there to compete. We're in, you know, every other state in the country that has an athletic commission. We're now in other parts of the world. We just got Ontario done in Canada, et cetera, et cetera. There's absolutely no reason why it should not be in the state of New York.
As Dana mentioned, we purchased the UFC literally 10 years ago. 10 years ago and 3 days ago was our anniversary when we purchased the company. And certainly the sport has evolved tremendously. When we bought the company, the mantra of what we were trying to put together is that we decided we were going to run towards regulation. We want to be regulated. That's what we're asking for here in New York. We don't want to just come into the state and put on a fight. We want the New York State Athletic Commission to regulate us and be in control of the fighters, the testing, all the health and safety of the fighters. We have a history of working with state regulatory agencies. As Dana mentioned, in the 10 years that we've been doing this and throwing nearly 2,000 individual fights, we've never had a serious injury that has been accounted for. So obviously, we're doing things the right way. Today, of the 48 states that have athletic commissions, 44 regulate the sport. Most of the major cities in the United States not only welcoming us with open arms, but bidding for our event to come to their city, giving us dollars to come to their city, not just in the US, but literally around the world, from Sydney to Rio de Janeiro to Abu Dhabi. This sport is now global, and we think it's time that we're able to hold live events here in New York. When we come to the state of New York, we will provide economic impact. There's been an independent study done by the firm HR&A, who has estimated that we will bring over $23 million on an annual basis. We look forward to hopefully getting to the point of educating state legislators so that they understand that this is a safe, regulated sport and something that should be allowed here in New York. So, thank you.
We can't wait for this to be sanctioned here. We are anxiously awaiting this to happen. We think that Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena, there's no better place to host the world's fastest growing sport. We'd be proud to host it, we're excited to host it, and we look forward to it. So, thank you.
MSG is an official partner at Bellator. Has that changed now? Are you guys going into a partnership with UFC?
You know, we've done some events in Chicago, in Boston. Bellator, we'll continue to work with different MMA organizations. UFC is the preeminent organization. They're the dominant force in this sport, and we believe that they should and will be the first MMA event at Madison Square Garden.
He's an incredible athlete. He's an incredible human being. He's a great guy and inspirational to a lot of people. Ladies and gentlemen, Frankie Edgar.
How's everybody doing? Super excited to be here. I can't wait till I get to fight here. You know, I grew up, I'm from Jersey. I grew up a New York sports fan. 2 months ago, I got asked to, come and talk to the Jets, give a motivational speech. Maybe need to give one this weekend. Growing up being from Jersey, it's been a lifetime dream. So we got fighting to fight here at the Garden. I mean, it's the most famous arena. Some of the biggest fights, fought in boxing have been fought here. And, I just want to have that opportunity myself. Fighting in Jersey is great. It's my home state, but I don't think anything is quite like fighting here in New York City. I train here twice a week. I feel like this is my home, too. And I'd just like to give the fans here in New York what the New Jersey fans get. And, Dana said it, man, there's nothing like a UFC event. The energy is amazing. And, being a guy that gets to do it and fight, and you would think I'd get numb to it and used to it. Every time I come to an event, I get the chills. It's just, it's an awesome experience. And, I think the people in New York would appreciate to have this here. And, hope it gets done soon. Thank you.
This is another example of New York being a nanny state. We have to stop doing that. We have to give the choice. How many cable TV stations do you have? How many radio stations do you have? You have choices. By us not legalizing this, it's removing that option of all these literally millions of fans in New York State having the option to see their hometown heroes fighting. And the fact of the matter is, in this economic climate, we don't need more tax increases. We need a chance to raise revenue. And this is a wonderful chance. I've actually contacted the governor's office and asked him to include this in the governor's budget this year. So we're going to wait and see if it is included in the budget. If it's not, then I'm hoping that we'll bring it to the floor for a vote.
And what is that process of getting it on the governor's budget?
Well, he would put it in first. I mean, he would include it in the revenue portion of the budget. Then we, of course, vote on the revenue portion of the budget. His budget comes to us. We make any adjustments. But if it's in the budget, it has a much better shot of staying in the budget. I'm not going to speak for the governor. I did have a conversation with him, and he seems open. And as I said, we sent a letter and talked to him personally, and requested he does include this in his budget proposal. So I think we're taking a wait-and-see approach, but I have to say I'm optimistic.
Thank you. We prepared the economic impact study. The economic activity both in New York City and New York State is much needed in the current climate, as the Assemblyman and others have noted. We made a set of conservative assumptions in order to make economic projections. We assumed that there would be a UFC event in Madison Square Garden. We assumed that there would be another event upstate. It's likely that there will be more events than that, but that's the projection that we made. That generates something in the order of $16 million of that $23 million economic activity annually. There's also a very substantial MMA network of what tends to be smaller events that, based on looking at states that are comparable, like New Jersey, California, Pennsylvania, we would see quite a number of across the state. We projected, again, quite conservatively, that there would be 70 MMA events. On average, they'd have 2,000 ticket sales each. But that also brings the other portion, the $7 million portion of the economic activity. Our feeling, and we do a lot of economic impact studies, is that particularly with events taking place in New Jersey, across the river, in Pennsylvania as well, in other markets that are close by, including now Ontario, a very substantial amount of this activity is recapturing New Yorkers attending events elsewhere and is also bringing in visitors from other states.